What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Just Be Real podcast. I'm your host, Marissa Tong. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to chat with y'all. Well, today is a guest episode, but I wanted to do a little intro, a little catch up before we get into today's amazing conversation. I'm so excited for this conversation, and I think so many of y'all will benefit from this, especially women. This episode is really truly for the women. And yeah, I really hope y'all like today's guest because first of all, she's a Scorpio. We're going to get into that on the podcast, but we immediately clicked. Okay, I always find my Scorpios. I always find my Scorpio sisters. So it was a really good conversation with Lotus. And before we get into it, I know that we went a little MIA last week, but last week was crazy, y'all. Like, I traveled back to Jersey. I went home for a couple days. I hosted a training for my very first Real Rhythm dance workout instructors. And yeah, it was a long day, but it was such a rewarding day. And yeah, y'all, like, we're going to talk in another solo episode. I have a few things to talk about, but I do want to get into today's conversation, so I'm going to keep this short, but just wanted to let y'all know that we are going to be going back to 2 episodes per week. I know some of y'all are going to be really happy about that, but here's the gag, y'all. Here's the gag. So the gag is one of those episodes is going to be a solo episode, but it's also going to be just audio. Now, I might change my mind. I don't know. But this is just something that I thought of. I'm doing a lot of shifting right now. It's eclipse season. So I am reflecting on my work habits, on my routines, on my creativity, what I really want to focus my energy on, and what I have time for, and also what's realistic, what's not going to stress me out, what can I delegate. So I'm going through like a big shift right now and really trying to figure out what is going to require most of my time in these next couple of months as I continue to transition and adjust to living in California and running my business in Jersey. So there's a lot going on, but I do want to go back to 2 episodes. Like, I really like that. We were on that vibe for a long time. And if you guys are listeners of the podcast, then with the move, it was just way too much to try to get out 2 episodes a week. So the episode that will be coming out, the solo one, it's going to be, a cute short episode. I may or I might not do a video. I don't know, y'all, but honestly, if you guys know, I edit all my videos by myself. I don't have an editor right now at this point in my career. And yes, I would love to hire one, but we're getting there. Okay. We're moving slowly. I have a personal assistant now. I have a social media manager, which is cool. So I do feel a bit more supported than I have felt over the last several years of just really buckling down and like doing everything myself. But I'm really trying to step into my soft girl entrepreneur season. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people. Like, how can you be a soft girl and an entrepreneur? We're going to kind of talk about this today in this conversation with Lotus. We talk about princess treatment and we talk about Black women not feeling like they deserve that or feeling like they need to do everything and they need to wear all the hats. And I'm kind of just over that. And while I do wear so many hats, naturally being multi-passionate, being someone who has many interests, I'm a creative, I have different business ventures, so my time and my energy is going to be in different places. However, I'm not going to burn myself out. I know what that feels like. Last year, I was hitting the point of feeling burnt out. I went through a lot emotionally last year, emotionally and mentally. And I'm finally just feeling like I'm in a better space and I want to continue to be in that space. And I know that I need to change some things. I need to change some routines. I need to just get better about some things. And I'm finally feeling like, it's spring. It's spring. This is technically the new year, if you guys believe that. But, things were dead in the winter. Nothing was really moving. It's a time of deep transformation, going within, really getting clear about what the next season looks like. And yeah, I do have some clarity. The retreat this past weekend in Arizona was amazing. And I'm so grateful for the ladies that came. And, traveling during, we're going to talk about this on another solo episode. We have so much to talk about, but traveling during Mercury retrograde and eclipse season and Venus retrograde, like it was truly a time. Okay, so many challenges, so many roadblocks, but we made the most of it. We made the best of it. We got some snow in Sedona, we got some sunshine in Phoenix and Scottsdale. So it was nice. We got a little bit of everything. So I am just really grateful. I'm still feeling, I guess, relaxed, even though retreats are work for me. I'm facilitating, I'm making sure everything is good. I also took a nice road trip by myself from Cali to Arizona. So I drove, and honey, the way there was crazy. It was snowing, it was raining. I was just like, this is nuts. Like the universe, the universe is gonna do what she do. Okay, we have nothing to do with nature. Nature is going nature. Nature is gonna do exactly what she wants to do, and all we could do is just accept it and move on. Like if we want to just sit and complain about the weather all the time, it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, do you want to call up God and be like, God, I really need it to stop raining today so that I can go get my hair done? Like, girl, if you don't sit down and enjoy this rain, okay? Even here in like San Diego, it was raining that whole week when I was in Jersey and Arizona. So people were complaining. And I'm like, girl, we need this rain. Like, do y'all not remember the fires? Like, it's crazy. So, yeah, I'm just feeling immense gratitude and I'm excited for y'all to get into this conversation, y'all. So, yeah, look out for a solo episode probably this weekend. I haven't decided what day I want it to come out. I'm thinking Fridays. Like, we used to do a Friday vibe, Tuesday, Friday. I am going to stick with Wednesdays, but I'm thinking either a Friday or a Sunday solo day. I'm not really sure yet, but y'all let me know what you think. Okay. Also, let me know what you think about this conversation with Lotus today. Drop a comment if you are listening on Spotify or YouTube. Also, if you're listening or watching this on YouTube, there is no visual. It's just, you're probably just getting the logo because I wasn't trying to do this in video, okay? I'm looking crazy. I need to wash my hair. I'm still unpacking. Like there's a lot going on. So, but if you are watching on YouTube, there is going to be a visual for this combo. So, yeah, let's get into it, y'all. Enjoy. Hey Lotus, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
I am feeling really good today. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I feel-
Can you tell the people a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
I am a reverend, which is very exciting. It's a wonderful journey that I am recently on, so that feels good. I'm also a trauma-informed practitioner and an energy practitioner. So I really help Black women to connect back to their power, connect back to their dark feminine energy, so they can live a life where they are self-worth unapologetically. So often we are taught to kind of put ourselves on the back burner and to not embrace things like rage or, like anger or sadness, like, because we want to be, I don't know, safe amongst society. But we also doing a disservice to ourselves by doing that. So my goal is that through my meditations, through my teachings, through my writing, that I'm able to get Black women to be more comfortable in the fullness of their power, not just their light, but also their dark.
Yes, I love that. And I discovered you through your Substack, which you talk a lot about the dark divines, which I love. You get really deep in there. And you're also a fellow Scorpio, which, hey girl, I always find my Scorpios, like always,
Always.
always.
It's a good feeling too, because once I know you're a Scorpio, I'm just like, okay, I'm in good hands. Like I know we're gonna be good. It's very rare to have a weird experience with a Scorpio woman or a Scorpio femme. Like it's
Mhm.
all locked in. I love that for us.
Yes, men, different
Yeah,
story.
we don't. Yeah, yeah. That's not. Yeah.
Vibes, different vibes. But yeah, I found you on Substack. Love your Substack. You guys are on Substack. Definitely go check it out. We'll link all her stuff in the show notes. But today we're going to be diving in to the topic of manifestation. So we haven't talked too much on the podcast about manifestation, but today we're going to be looking at it from a different lens. So we're going to be talking specifically manifestation for women of color. I think that we're not really taught how to manifest, or we're not really taught that that's a possibility for us. So we've seen it a lot in white culture. There's a lot out there pertaining to, oh, how to manifest, do this. And it comes off very like step by step, one, two, three. Like it's easy, even though it can be easy. But I think for us, because we have different challenges, I think just being Black is one challenge in itself. So we're going to dive a little bit into that today, and also celibacy and life force energy. So, really excited to chat with you today, Lotus. So, my question for you: when did you first learn about manifestation, and what did that look like for you?
Ooh, uh, hmm. So my mom is like a very witchy girl. If you talk to her, I'd be like, girl, what are you talking about? Never in my life. Trulio form of like, what? No, I'm just a star. But I grew up like reading about astrology and like learning about like ancient Egyptians and learning how to do hieroglyphics. Like my mom was very into the occult kind of mystical driven world. Like we watched Charm together, like it was the whole thing. And I think it was always woven in where I would notice that I would speak something or really feel for something and it would kind of like appear. And I was like, oh. And for a long time, I figured that that's just how it was. It wasn't until maybe I got a little older when I started doing yoga, maybe like 15, we started hearing the term like manifestation. And then I was going to these different seminars and learning like the verbiage that came with what I was experiencing already. But from witnessing my mom and how she moved in life, how she spoke about my grandmother, they just really leaned into manifestation. I'm sure that was a different experience for them and a different title, but ultimately they had very clear visions. A lot of the women in my family are diviners by utilizing dreams, by reading cards. So they would have a dream of like, this is where I need to be, or this is where we're heading. And they would follow that intuition. And that's also a part of manifestation, like really leaning into your intuition. And I've always been very intuitive. I've always gone with my gut. It's been a crazy ride, but I'm very happy to say that. So it started off really, really young, leaning into manifestation.
Yeah. And what was the first thing that you could remember like manifesting or speaking into existence, and you're like, okay, like this actually came about. Like I do have some type of power, or that you can remember.
There's like so many, but they're like small glimpses. Okay, I'm trying to think of one that's like really impactful. There's like so many. Okay, there's some that are more recent that maybe I'll go with, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it was it was very dramatic, and we'll probably lean more into this too because I was feeling very emotional. I had just pivoted in my career again, and I was just talking to my sister like, I know what I'm doing, and I just feel like I'm failing. And it was just what I realized in hindsight, it was a moment of surrender. I was surrendering in that moment. I was letting go of all the fear that I was still holding on to, all the limiting beliefs, and I was just allowing them to go out into a safe space with my sister and her just being like, when I was done crying and boohooing, she's like, are you done? And I'm like, oh, she's also Scorpio. So we do be, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah. She was like, okay, so let's really talk about the fact that you've been living off your own genius for X amount of years. And she just kind of broke it down this way of like, you're going to be fine. Less than 24 hours later, I received a grant for 10K. And then I want to say a week later, I was accepted into a program with Spotify because I had pitched a podcast idea. And then that led to an entire year being coached by their like producer team, being flued out to LA. And it all stemmed from that one moment of me having to have this deep emotional release,
Mhm.
but it led to so much more abundance in my life. And I knew it was because of that. I know I can feel the singular moment of when it all clicked, when I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'm surrendering because I needed to let go of all of this. It was taking up a lot of space for the blessings that were waiting because blessings are always there. Like your miracles are always there. They're just waiting for you to acknowledge it and to make space for it. It's not a whole thing of like going out to chase and grabbing these things. That is such a weird concept to me. They're already there. So that was an experience where I was like, it already exists. I just needed to make space and I wasn't making space.
Girl, that is That's literally what my 2024 looked like. That's so relatable. It's so relatable. Like having to go through that process of surrender, I think that's a big piece. And like we can stay on that topic for a little bit because I think people hear it and that's a word that's thrown out a lot and we don't really sometimes understand what that means. I didn't understand what that means until I actually had to do it, like letting go of the attachments, letting go of the expectations, letting go of this is where I should be, this is not working. I think sometimes we do try to force things to continue to work and they're not working, and at
Yeah.
that point it's like you just got to let go of it and trust. I think the trust piece is really important as well, like surrender and trust. What does that mean to you, like surrender?
Surrender is like it's giving up and it's letting go. And people get really triggered about it, especially Black women, because we're told like you don't give up, you fight to the death type thing. But like it really is giving up. It really is. But you're not just giving up to anything or anyone. For me, it's giving it up to source, giving up to my ancestors, my angels, Black Madonna, the entities that I know work in favor of me, and being like, you know what? This is all I can do in my human form, y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to pull up, pull through, and make it happen because I'm cocking out. I'm gonna go take care of my body now. And that's usually what the invitation is. And we don't understand that. We're taught that like you have to like keep going, keep moving forward, taking like take action next. And it's inspired action that we're supposed to be taking, not just regular ass action. That's we just end up being busy and you're not even realizing that you're not moving anywhere. You're just going back and forth in the same context, right? The goal is to give up, to surrender, to have clarity enough in the vessel. The vessel is a channel, it's an antenna of source, to then hear the whisper or feel the nudge or see the image of like, here's what I'm supposed to be doing next. So often we're so caught up in like what we're trying to will it into existence. You don't necessarily have to do that. You could just let go. But letting go means knowing that you're not in control, which is another thing that I know a lot of overachieving Black women tend to like suffer with as a recovering one of like, you're telling me to let go of control. But the way that I explain it to my students is like, let's say, you're having your spiritual awakening. I would like to say I had mine, maybe it first began when I was 15 and then really maybe solidified around 21. I'm 35 now, right? Well, I'm turning 35 this year. So maybe for like, let's give it a good decade. 10 years I've been understanding, awakened. That's 10 years. Think of a 10-year-old child, right? Then we have the universe and God, who's created all experiences, everything's been around since the beginning of time, probably created the concept of time, all those things. Which one do you think has the most wisdom and would have better sense of control? The 10-year-old version of you in your awakened state or source that created all things, including self and the experiences you will have and have had before? And I always put it that way to chill out my ego and to remind my ego, like, yes, you are a tool that I'm here to utilize. However, you may not be that qualified, and that's okay because that's why we have source. That's why we're co-creating with the universe and with our ancestors. And that always helps us to understand how you can surrender. You're not just letting it go out into the world and hoping for the best. You're giving it to a specific source, whether that be God, Allah, whoever it is you call onto in your time of need. You're saying you and your wisdom, your divine guidance, come through and take care of this burden that I no longer can carry. Allow me to have the space within the vessel to hear you clearly so that I can take said inspired action to call in my dream life or my manifestations.
Oh yeah, girl, you said so many important keys there. Number one, releasing control,
Yeah.
right? I think that's a big piece, and especially like you said for Black women, because we need to be in control. Like we're brought up that way, that we need to control things, and a lot of the times it's because the responsibilities just fall in our lap. So that's that piece. Then we also have the inspired action piece, which comes from listening to your intuition, which comes from getting quiet, going into meditation, right? Like really being open to receiving the messages and the downloads from God. And then we also have the asking piece, right? So like asking God for what you want, like getting clear, like you said, God, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like it's above me. Like it's above me. Like
Yeah.
please, I ask for you to come in. Like so
Yeah.
those are like the three, I think, key pieces with manifestation. And it's not just like you said, it's not just the chasing, right? Like, yeah, we might want something and we might feel like we really want that thing. And like you said, it could be your ego. It could just be your ego thinking or deciding for you that you need that thing or that that thing belongs to you, when it's like God might be telling you like that's expired, like that's not
Yeah.
an opportunity that is available for you anymore, and I have something better for you on the other side, but I just need you
Yeah.
to chill out.
Yeah, and most times we're just not chilling out because we're just in that hustle and grind mindset that society has like ran us into the ground with. And it's just once I let go of hustle and grind, started leaning towards harmony and grace. How can I be more graceful with myself, with others? How can I lean into the sense of harmony? Not necessarily balance, because that idea of balance for Black women is perfectionism. It's 50-50. You know, I'm really good at my job and my home life equally. It's like that's perfectionism. We just assume that it's different because we put the word balance to it. So I don't necessarily use that word or that verbiage because it can be very triggering. But harmony could be 80-20, 70-30. It's just at the end of the day, it's an 100% feeling that you're experiencing. So how can I be in harmony? Does that mean that right now I'm in my 80% of resting and in 20% of getting up and being inspired? Or maybe it's the reverse and I'm like 70% hustle and grind right now because there are seasons for it, but it's not a lifestyle. That's not something that we should be like proud of or, you know, pushing others to embrace, because it is super detrimental to our physical well-being, our spiritual well-being, our energetic well-being, emotional well-being, even our financial well-being. It
Mhm.
doesn't serve us to live that as a lifestyle, but to know when to utilize your ego for its goal setting, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go out there and show off and let people know who I am and do that thing. You have to know when that is. And most times we don't, because we haven't surrendered all the extra BS that's in our body, in our auric fields, and you're going to feel more confused. You have to surrender. It has to happen
Yeah.
by force or by flow. It has to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if we don't learn that, we're just gonna stay in the same cycles, and
Yeah.
the same lessons are gonna keep coming, the same trials, the same financial issue, whatever it is that you keep facing, or whatever it is that you're trying to get over, whatever hurdle, I feel like that keeps coming up as long as you don't
Yeah.
surrender and as long as you keep pushing and fighting and trying to make things work, and that can apply to literally everything, relationships, that can apply to your job, that can apply to your creativity, like maybe you are a writer and like writing is just not, it's not something that you're in that season, like right now it's not a season for writing, maybe you need to do something else, maybe you need to go paint.
Yeah.
I think being open and receptive to moving on and letting go is important.
So important. Like the sooner you can get comfortable with letting go, the more ease that you would invite into your life. Like now, I'm very much a damsel in distress. Younger Lotus would have never claimed this of like, no, I can do it myself. And I'm very self-sufficient. Like I can get shit done, you know? However, it's if I want to get that done or if I want to utilize, you know, my resources, whether that be my community or my connection to God, to get it done. Because sometimes the way that I see it being completed, I know something's missing. I'm like, it's gonna take a lot out of me to get this done. I don't know how I feel about that. You know what? This is what my game plan was. I'm gonna hand it to y'all. We're fine. Do whatever you need to do, and then like let me know when it's time for me to tap back in. And you'd be very surprised how clear the conversation is with Source when you're actively engaging in it. When it's not like a byproduct, like just a little whisper or nudge in your ear. When you're constantly talking to God, you realize God is literally always talking to you all the time.
Yes.
Like it's always a conversation. You just have to engage with it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Ladies, it is officially glow up season. Spring is just about here. And if you're feeling anything like I'm feeling, I am so ready to just pour into myself, to create new routines, to wake up earlier. I don't know, like this new energy is just coming over me. And I know how important it is for me to take time for myself in order for me to reach my goals, have energy to give to others, and to really just do my job, to show up to this podcast, to teach dance classes. It's really important for me to take time to recharge. That's the reason why I created Real Hot Retreats, because more women need to understand the importance of taking a break, taking time to really just be with themselves, to be with other women, to soak up nature. And so I want to invite you to take a little bit of time for yourself this year and come on one of my next retreats. If you're looking to tap more into your feminine energy, to soften up, to really heal from
things that you might have gone through in the past couple years, I would highly recommend the Goddess Retreat in Greece. So we're going to be spending a few nights in Mykonos and then hopping over to the beautiful island of Andros to get some real, authentic Greek living experience. This is going to be so fun. We're going to be doing dance classes. We have journaling workshops. We're going to be exploring Greece, soaking up the goddess energy that these islands have to offer. This is going to be an amazing time for you to really just soften, to be with yourself, to connect with who you truly are, and to prepare for this next season of your life. Spring is a really good time to rebirth, to renew, to restore. And what's a better place to do that other than Greece? So I would invite you to come travel with me from May 7th to the 13th. We do have a few spots still available. So if you're interested in booking, you can actually get $200 off this month with the code Women's Month. It is Women's Month. Okay, so I want to give y'all a little incentive to do something for yourself. Take some time for yourself. You deserve it. Okay. And if you're not able to travel with us this May, then we do have the Unmasking Retreat coming up in Seattle, Washington. That's going to be from August 8th to 11th. Now, this is a retreat specially curated for women of color, so Black, Brown, Hispanic, Asian, Indian women who are in marginalized groups. You know, they deal with a lot of things on the day to day, whether that means discrimination, whether that looks like not getting the same opportunities or the same pay as other people, or just having to deal with other people's nasty comments or energies, or maybe just not finding a safe space to truly be yourself and to show up as yourself. That's what this retreat is for. It's about removing the mask, showing up truly as yourself, being able to release, being able to let yourself just be and heal and enjoy. Us women of color, especially Black women, we really need more joy into our lives. We take on a lot, right, energetically, but also just taking on roles in the households and always being the person to do everything, you know, the person to show up for everyone. So this is a retreat for you to just come and be taken care of and receive that princess treatment that we are talking about all season, okay? So come treat yourself. Use that same code for $200 off Women's Month. And I hope to see you there. All right, back to the show. So I want to dive a little bit into like common misconceptions when it comes to manifestation, right? We have a million podcasts out there. We have a million YouTube videos, and, you know, we see all these memes and quotes and all these like threads about manifestation. What do you feel like is the most dangerous, I guess, belief when it comes to manifestation, where it's kind of holding us back from taking the steps like we talked about? Like, what are some things that you might see out there where it's like, this is ridiculous, like this is not even.
There's so many. I'm trying to think. Okay.
I know,
So
girl.
mine is like the aversion to being lucky. That seems like it's not dangerous, but it really, people have this aversion to it. Like, no, I worked hard to get this and I deserve. And it's like also too, maybe you're just favored by source. And maybe God just wanted to give that to you. Why is that such a negative thing for you? Why is it feels like you're now being discredited in your own identity because universe or source wanted to hand you something or give you something. You know, a lot of times when I say I'm lucky, like, no, you're not lucky. You worked really hard. I'm like, oh no, no, sweetie. I know what I said. I'm a very lucky girl. I don't take offense to that. You're not going to minimize me or my skill set, or my talents or my genius by telling me that I'm lucky. You're only going to make me feel better about myself. And I find that to be very interesting that people feel this aversion towards that. So there's that aspect. And then also, and I guess it kind of goes into manifestation, but it's really amongst just like what is projected onto Black women. This need for humility is really dangerous too, because if you're trying to manifest big dreams, but you also are being, you know, small and you're shrinking yourself because you think it's in service to God, like that's dangerous. And I know a lot of people are like, what is she saying? Like, no, I'm humble to a T. I am not a humble person, and I openly talk about this all the time. I come from a lineage of incredibly intelligent and beautiful women who have done things and have shifted culture in my life, in my lineage for generations. I'm gonna brag about it.
As you should.
I don't see why I shouldn't, like the fact that I'm a Black woman, the fact that I get to teach what I teach, the fact that I'm in these spaces, the accolades that I have. It's not to make other people feel bad. It's just to honor what it is that my journey is. I'm not going to pretend like, I didn't receive these awards so that the person I'm talking to doesn't feel inferior. You should not feel inferior because I'm honoring all of the divinity that comes with me. And humility can get very distorted in that way, where you feel like because this person has more than you or more experience, like I should be small. Because then you're also trying to attract what they have. But those people they're not humble people, They're not assholes, we're just like, yeah, I'm better than you. But they also understand like I am worth something of deep, immense value. And that is why I'm receiving what I'm receiving. And a lot of us really struggle with either concept of being lucky just for the sake of being lucky, because you think that people think you're inferior, or you literally make yourself inferior by claiming humility and humbleness. And I'm like, I really want people to start like reading the dictionary. Read what it says in the dictionary for the word humble, and
Mm,
then really ask yourself, are you okay with being that, with claiming that and saying I am? Because I am is your entity. It's who you are in this moment. When you're making your affirmations, the I am speaks to that truth. I am blank. I am claiming it, deciding that that is my identity next. I am humble is up there with saying I am broke for me. It's just they don't go hand in hand. And I know it's going to ruffle some feathers, but I encourage you to look at the definition of humility first, and then also look at how society has continued to try to humble Black women for generations, from it being down to where we couldn't wear our natural hair out because it was too distracting. We had to wear head wraps to what we go through in the day and age now of there being what we're the highest educated group in
mm,
the world. And now we're losing DEI and people assume that it's because of us. It's like we've always been qualified, baby. We've always been qualified. It's not us. It's truly y'all. And having that conversation, those are the two things that I feel are super dangerous in manifestation, because most times we're being taught manifestation through a white lens. And I do feel to a certain extent that that may apply to them in their experience. Maybe they do need to practice humility. I don't know because I'm not white, so I really can't tell you too much, but maybe through their lens, yes.
mhm,
Like, maybe through a man teaching you how to manifest, maybe he should practice humility.
mhm, mhm.
Be something that they do.
Yeah,
I strongly encourage it for them. I don't encourage it for Black women though, at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
Well,
It's completely different. I think the important piece is like the self-worth piece, right? Like you said, why do we need to constantly feel the need to humble ourselves where obviously it's programming and society trying to make us small. Like that I don't think that's ever going to stop.
no.
But I think that it's the self-worth piece, right? Like we're not taught how to increase our self-worth or how to build confidence. Like I feel like as Black women, unless you have the upbringing and the family and the support system where they're constantly lifting you up, in most cases they're not. In most
Yeah,
cases we're taught, oh, don't get pregnant young, you're too fast, you need to
don't go to jail. Yeah, simple things.
stay out of grown folks business. Like there's just a lot that we're taught, so that's constantly bringing down our confidence as we continue to age. So I think having a support system as a Black woman where you are empowered to, you are powerful, like you are a lucky girl, like things do happen for you, like you deserve this, you're deserving of these things. I think that's a little bit more common for white people, especially white women. Like white women are they're brought up, a lot of them, and I'm not going to say all because we do have some white listeners on the show, but I think a lot of them are brought up with princess treatment, you know?
Yeah,
It's just,
society has deemed them to be the epitome of beauty, right? And for them to be the damsel in distress, right? And you can go back. There are too many examples. Some are a little bit harsher than others, But yeah, they are taught to be, they're on this pedestal. And a lot of times they don't realize it because even this day and age, they might say, well, I'm not like how my mother was or my grandmother was. But it's like, it still runs through your blood. The stories, the trauma is still there. You know, if you're not actively exploring it, you don't know that you're not having that experience. So it's like you may think that that's not the case, but that's what it was for you all. Like that's literally what it was. Like white women were at the top. They were this pedestal, this delicate being, and they could essentially do no wrong. And they were the Eurocentric standards of like what we need to look like, slimming our noses, right? Having thinner lips at one point. Now it's different because we've realized that Black women are the blueprint. But having these things has caused us to feel inferior. Even if you go back to, I just did an essay on this, the baby doll test, where they tested young Black children and white children, and Black children felt like the white doll was prettier and kinder and sweeter. And it was just based off of what they were experiencing in life and what they were being told by media. And that alone, that was our parents and our grandparents having that experience with the baby doll, right? And we have no idea how they processed it, if they even processed their trauma and went through what they went through, and then it's being passed on to us. The same thing is happening in white families. Like, and the fact that they don't assume that that's happening is like you're not exploring it enough to
Yeah.
know that it's not happening. There's so many instances where we are taught as Black women that we are not enough. And I know for me growing up, even though I grew up around like really strong, brilliant, outspoken Black women, it took a while for me to catch on that we were considered inferior because in my family, I grew up in a matriarchal society in my own personal family. It was very much like, okay, but what did your grandma say? All
Mm.
right, what did your mom say? Did your aunt say it was okay? Like the men in my family were like, "Ooh, did you check in with her? Because I don't want to tell you yes." And she did. And I would always be confused when I go to my friend's house and they're like, "Let me check with my dad real quick. He has the final say." And I'm like, "What? Oh, like, okay, so like having grown up that way, I didn't necessarily think that I was inferior because it just wasn't what I was seeing at home.
Mhm.
And because of what I was experiencing at home, I guess really resonated with me so much. I didn't necessarily care what was happening outside of my home. It
Mm.
took some time for me to realize. But by then I had a very strong sense of self. So even though I was witnessing it, I wasn't subscribing to it. But I say that to say my first conversation right before kindergarten. I was super excited going to school, and my mom was just like, I need to tell you something. In life, Black women are here. Then it's Black men, white women, white men, right? You have to work 3 times as hard to be seen. And again, it's like, is that a traumatizing conversation to tell a 4-year-old? Yes, in hindsight. But my mother was really like, I don't want you to go out into this world and to be amongst these people, being one of the only Black kids in class and you start to feel like you're not being seen. You probably are going to not be seen.
Mhm.
However, you want to make sure that you're seen. Don't let anyone deny you of your existence, essentially, was the undertone of that conversation. I internalized it as a young child as being an overachiever, being the top of my class, because then you could not see me because I was number one.
Mhm.
But that grew into perfectionism, that grew into, a lot of self-care issues as I got older and I had to redefine that. But now it's more of like just understanding that society is going to try to make you seem that you're at the bottom of this totem pole, but you're the foundation. You're
Mm.
you are the actual blueprint for all of those other groups. They are surviving and thriving because of you. And you can literally see our impact just based off of what's going on now. Currently with like the 92% stepping back and people like, where are the black women at? This was no, why don't you guys try? And that shows you already how foundational we are. Language is important because we would think that we're at the bottom when it's like, no, we are the source of nourishment. And when you understand that, then you get to have this self agency and a deep sense of self worth of who am I willing to nourish? I don't want to nourish you, so I'm not going to, right? That helps us to build up our sense of self worth, whether we learned it at home or not. Black women are foundational to society. If people would open up their minds and their hearts to understand that, to really sit with what that means, we would do better as a society. If Black women are succeeding, everyone is succeeding because we live at that intersectionality of racism and sexism. And I'm not talking about things like classism or all these other isms, just those two alone. We're hyper aware and hyper focused because it was our need to survive.
Yeah.
Right? We had to survive. We had to survive men and we had to survive whiteness. So we are always thinking about how other people are feeling, what they're engaging in. That's why we're so empathetic because we're like, damn, I know it's like being me, and I can relate to you because of your blackness, but I also can relate to you because of your womanness, right? Like I feel you. I'm engaging with you. We're the only group that has that. There's no other group that can connect to that intersection. There's no other group. So for people to not realize that, it's dangerous. But like once I understood that, my level of self-worth skyrocketed because it's just like, baby, you can't really navigate this life without me.
And
Whether it comes to like
that.
your looks, your education, community care, even the economic system that y'all really can't do anything without us. Our buying power, like you, it's just not, you can't tell me. I can have someone tell me to my face, like, oh, you're ugly, you're not, and I'm just like, that's crazy. Like, because my sense of self-worth is really directed and rooted in who I am as a person, um, and me being a woman and me being a Black woman. There's literally nothing you could tell me that would make me feel inferior to anybody else
Mm-hmm.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of why I do the work that I do, because especially when it comes to like my Substack and just sharing those notions, because I understand that it's hard to build up self-worth. I've witnessed so many beautiful people who are brilliant suffer from a lack of self-worth, and they're not sharing their gifts. They're not showing up. They're allowing people to walk all over them. They suffer with boundaries. So my intention is that in sharing my sense of self-worth through my work, that people are going to realize their truth, and either lean into it and start to embrace their own self-worth, or make sure that they're not causing harm to others at least.
Mm-hmm. So many good things, so many good gems that you just threw out there. I want to stay on the topic of
Yes,
self-worth,
I know,
and I
yes.
want to kind of make our way into manifesting love.
Yeah.
Manifesting love, because I think self-worth and manifesting the right type of love, let's say that, like manifesting the love that we are deserving of, because I think the topic of love, it's always so, it's a touchy subject, right? Because we all go through heartbreak, we all go through relationships that can leave, trauma, and we just feel like we're scarred and we're jaded and we don't want to go back to it, whatever. But I think we're all deserving of love. Like we all deserve princess treatment, and that's something that I talk about a lot on like my podcast, my Substack. Like we are deserving of that. So when it comes to self-worth, how specifically as Black women, like how can we set the standard? How can we set the tone, and when we're dating and when we're looking for our partner, what is it that we need to put out there? Like how should we be showing up, in these relationships where it's not like, I'm your mom? Because I think that's a big thing that I'm hearing from a lot of Black women. I've experienced it as well, like taking on the mother role when it comes to, let's say, specifically Black men, when we're dating Black men, taking on the
Mhm.
mother role, taking on the role of needing and wanting to do it all, wanting to, raise and support and do all the things, but we're not getting our needs met, and we're not taking care of ourselves, and we're not making it clear like this is the expectation. And if this is not being met, like I'm out.
Yeah. Okay, this is a layered answer, and I want to make sure that I respond to this in a very delicate way because sometimes I can be very blunt, and I
Yeah.
don't want bluntness to get in the way of what it is that I'm saying. Um, I'm going to start with self-love, and I know that this has been a very touchy topic in the atmosphere, from the clip from Drew and stuff like that. But me and having different relationships, when I really focused in on myself. I also just, I'll reframe it from self-love because that might be very triggering to self-first mentality. So I'm an advocate for being self-first, not being selfish, because there's I'm taking back what's mine kind of energy from that feels really yucky to me. But being self-first, understanding that I have to come first, right? Because I'm living my life. No one else is living my life but me. So if I am taking care of myself first and whatever my needs are, right? Then people will follow suit. You think people think that you won't, that people won't follow suit, but that's not true. You have to have a level of absoluteness in being self first and understanding that in that you're going to probably rub some people the wrong way in the beginning, but after a while, because you maintain that frequency, it becomes less and less of an issue. Where I'm at in my life now, it's very rare when I come across people that are actively trying to be against me or cause me some type of harm. Even if it's a subconscious thing that they're doing, it's super rare because everything about my energy like repels it. You would literally feel completely uncomfortable around me without me saying anything or doing anything. It's just like, I don't want to be around you. And I'm like, yeah, you probably don't because we don't align, you know? And I don't take any offense to it either when someone says that. It's just like, you know, maybe you're trying to run game, you can't run game. I don't know what it is, but taking care of myself first is so, so, so important. It's how you not only survive being in a relationship, but it's really how you thrive in one. So if you're looking for, you know, that princess treatment, the first thing I want to ask is like, do you understand what love means? A lot of us don't have a clear definition of it. Bell Hooks has a really good definition in All About Love, that love is a combination of things. It's not one or the other. And a lot of times we are conditioned to want romance to feel whole. And that is why we are willing to go above and beyond to fill that in because we feel like without it, we would not be complete people. If you feel like without romance, you would be incomplete, I would encourage you to really sit with why that is. Because with or without romance, I'm a whole person. Just having them is like, oh, it's like a cherry on top, you know, like, oh, this is cute. And when you have that mindset, you don't tolerate a lot of bullshit. You're a cherry. I don't need the cherry, right? Like, it's a cute little thing to have, but it's not without it, I'm gonna die. Like I can't have this thing. No, that gives you a healthy sense of detachment, which we all need in all relationships. There should be a healthy level of separation of I love you deeply, but I also have very strong boundaries. And boundaries are not for them, they're for you. They're to keep you safe. And people get that very confused of like, well, I have these boundaries so people can behave right. That's a sense of control. Again, it's a control issue. It's not really what they're for. They're to make sure that you feel safe in any dynamic that you're engaging with. So when you come up to a boundary and you're like, oh, I'm starting to feel a little irritated or bitter or a little jaded by this dynamic with this person or a man in particular, you're probably coming up towards your boundary. And now it's time to reevaluate whether the boundary needs to be expanded because maybe it's an opportunity for growth with this person, or if you need to double down and be like, yeah, this is a boundary that I have and you're not respecting it. So I'm about to dip. Right. And we are not, it's hard to be aware to have that type of discernment of if you're coming up on a boundary, if you don't know yourself really well, if you don't care for yourself really well, if you don't know your sense of self-worth or your sense of self-love, it makes it really easy to get bamboozled or mother title of like, you know, I want to comfort and be there for that person. Give that comfort and that resource to yourself. Or if you're not willing to do it and give it to yourself, give it to your girlfriend. I was just telling my sister the other day, like, had I invested in her the way I invested in men in my past, I would have got a better return. Hands down, you know? Like, it just would have been a better experience all the way around because I also know that she has that desire to take care of me in that way too, and the skill set to do so. Some men don't, right? And if you feel like you're leaning into that motherhood role, they probably do not have the skill set to help take care of you. And they know, they can sense that you have the skill set to take care of them, and that's why they're leaning into that. Men are a lot smarter than you know, social media gives them credit for.
Yeah.
Whether they're aware of it's not the whole other story, but like they sense things and the way that their energy is built. There's a really great coach on YouTube. Her name is Mina Rafan. I think her page is the Universe Guru. She's phenomenal.
Ooh.
She's gonna put you on to game. But she talks about the chemistry of men and women. Like she breaks it down on a science level. And essentially, with men, they have this need to provide and to protect. It is an innate need. It's not like a conditional societal thing. It is like in their chemistry to do that.
Mhm.
However, they also understand that they don't always have the energy to do that. So they will go into conserve mode. if they know that you can do all these things on your own, or you keeping, I'll pay the bill, I got it this time, they're going to go into conserve mode. It's not even in disrespect to you. It really is not. It's just like, I understand that my energy is precious, even on a subconscious level. So like if you're gonna go ahead and do that, I might buck back one or two times, but I'm not about to go back and forth with you every single time with this. You got it. You want to take care of it? You got it. Right. And we often do that. I can't tell you how many times I reflected on my relationship. I was in a 10-year relationship with this man, and I had to really reflect honesty of how I warped the relationship. Granted, he had played a role, but for me, I was so adamant about proving my worth, not being self-focused, not being self-first, right? And letting him know, like, I could take care of myself and I could take care of you if I need to. Like I was in that mindset. And he was really against in the beginning, like, girl, just let me pay for the dinner. Like, it's really not that. You're making me feel uncomfortable and me wanting to provide for you. You're forcing me to step back from something that is innate for me to do. After a while, it's just like, okay, you got it. And then you're like, well, why don't you do more for me? And you don't realize that you kind of set it up that way. And it's not to blame the woman. It's just for us to also be able to take accountability, because it is a two-way street. If you're experiencing things like the motherhood effect with men, you probably need to be mothering yourself. And
Mm.
that energy back to you, it's gonna startle the shit out of him, right? Because he's gonna be like, "Whoa, what happened?" But most times when we want to care deeply for others outside of maybe the children in your life, because they are children, it's probably a need for you to take better care of yourself. And we will just naturally give it in a romantic environment because we're conditioned to do so. And a lot of us don't want to admit how conditioned we really are to take care of men and to take care of people in general. A lot of us still operate in that like mammy mode of like just taking care of everyone. And you don't realize like that's also in your genetics. It's passed down, and it's something that you should explore and make sure that you're not doing, because yeah, it's going to cause you to have an experience where you're not being cared for the way that you deserve in your relationship. But it also hopefully will inspire you to to have a little bit more of self agency, of like, you know what, I can admit to the fact that I've been playing in this role, and then you can pivot. You're not actually trapped in that dynamic. It's not a I only attract this type of thing. Now you have awareness to realize the influence that you've also put into this experience, so you can shift and direct to whatever one you really do want to have. I hope that, I know it sounds like really, but it's layered. It's layered.
Absolutely. There's a lot of different layers. There's the piece of, yeah, wanting to show up and prove yourself and prove your worth. And we kind of saw that in Wicked, of her like needing to prove her worth to the wizard and prove. But yeah, I think we need to come in, like women need to come in. Like the question of what do you bring to the table? I think that's such a turn off to me. Like if a man ever asked me that, like, girl, I'm out. Like, what do I bring to the table? Are you serious? So, like, that question is just off the table, period. Like, we don't bring anything. I don't bring anything. I'm sorry. Like, if you don't see my worth from the beginning, why do I need to explain what I'm bringing to the table? We need to get out of that mentality of like the
Yeah.
pick behavior. And I think that also comes down to like a scarcity mindset. Like we're not thinking there's enough men for us. We're thinking like, oh, there's so much competition. I need to get him and there's not enough. And
One man, unless you are, and you're subscribing to a different type of relationship pattern, but you only need one. That's
period.
it's really, and if you exist, your counterpart exists. I'm a firm believer that if I exist and I want to have romantic love, it is out there for me.
Mhm.
That's the end of the conversation. If I exist, so do they.
Yes. And you'll find the part, like this is where I'm at right now. I've been working on myself deeply for the past, like 2, 3 years. Like I've been celibate for 2 years. Has it been 2? I don't even know, girl. I lost count. But like I'm just at the mindset of like I've been working on myself, so I know my partner's doing the exact same thing. I'm
Yes.
raising my self worth. I'm raising my value so that I can meet someone who is also at that same level or higher, you know? And I think that's the mindset that us women need to have. Like, we're already high value. We don't need to prove anything. We don't need to do the most. We don't need to try to take care of everything. Like, that's not how we're creative. Like, we're women. We're meant to live in our feminine and allow men to, like you said, step in. They want to do those things. And like you said, if they see off the bat that you're already doing all the things, that you want to take care of everything, like, they're going to let you do that, you know? And I think it's sad that we're seeing a lot more men, and that's a whole nother conversation of, I think, men nowadays just having a little less testosterone and just not having that. We're missing something, you know. I think it's also just a matter of them also being guided and taught how to run a household and how to take care of women, and it's also like a self-worth thing for them as well. They need to also be doing the same work. But yeah, like, we're not trying to do that.
It's not necessary. I mean, it may be a part of somebody's experience to have that, to kind of feel like, oh, okay, I don't like the way that this feels, let me pivot. But no, you have to get uncomfortable with the fact that people are going to challenge that in the beginning, though. And I feel like people don't really understand that. Like, I have had fun experiences with men where they're like really shocked, or they're I tend to use my intelligence when it's necessary, and sometimes they're like, oh wow, like I wasn't expecting you to be. I'm like, oh, that's why would you not expect that, or not necessarily asking like what do I bring to the table, but trying to gauge it by asking me all these very like, well, what do you want in a man? And it's just like, surprise me. That's what I want in a man. I want you to be who you are so that I can decide if I like you. But you being who I told you to be, and a lot of us do that. We give up a lot of information. We tend to have an issue with like awkward silence. So we want to fill in the gap, and you're just telling this person everything they need to know about you to either finesse you. And we come from good-hearted spaces of like, I'm telling him everything so he'll know about me. That's not always the case. Men are doers. They're not really great at the communication part. They communicate by doing. They are the masculine energy in general. This is outside of gender. Masculine energy, a container. What's inside is the feminine energy. Feminine energy is beauty. It's chaotic. It can be very dangerous at times. It can be very soothing and healing. All of that's within the container. You have to also have a sense of masculine energy for yourself to know your own container and to also experience your own feminine energy. Because if you can't experience for yourself, you cannot think that you're going to be able to be okay with another entity, another person coming in and creating that container for you to be in, and you don't want to be in your own container, right? I am as at home with my masculine energy as much as I am with my feminine energy. That is why when I experience someone who has masculine energy, I have no problem stepping back. I have no problem being like, oh yeah, you got this, and allowing them to do things the way that they feel is best too is a part of that princess treatment. Like, I think that's inefficient. I would have never done it that way. So like a lot of energy on your part, but you got it, Papa. That's on you. Whatever you feel is best, I'm gonna try. As long as I don't feel like I'm in danger, however you go about it, I'm going to let you navigate your life your way. And we have a very hard time doing that, especially as Black women, because we, again, at the intersectionality of racism and sexism, we have this hyper awareness to feel safe, and we will take control to insert that feeling of safety, even though it's false, because we're disillusioned in that moment of like, I feel safe because I'm doing it. But it's like, you have no idea what this man is capable of and what they are willing to do or not do for you, because you have taken control of the entire situation because you don't feel safe.
Girl.
Super layered. It's super layered.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. And I want to dive in before we end real quick. I want to end on this note of,
oh my God, y'all. So I just bought a brand new pair of professional dance heels from Burju Shoes, and I am completely obsessed. These are not only fashionable, but they're completely, absolutely comfortable. They're so lightweight, they fit my foot like a glove, and my feet are just completely happy. Versus when I first started taking heels classes and teaching heels classes, I was just picking up random heels from department stores, and they were killing my feet. My feet would be swollen, I would have blisters, they would scuff up the floor at the dance studio.
video. So I'm so happy that I came across Berju shoes. These are without a doubt the best heels in the industry, and a few celebrities, including Chloe Bailey, J-Lo, and Megan Thee Stallion, have been spotted wearing these during their big performances, so you know they're good. You absolutely need to invest in yourself this year and stop wasting your money on shoes that will only last you a week, girl, okay? If you're looking to level up and get into your heels bag and, just build your confidence, you're gonna need the right shoes. So these shoes will completely level up your dancing and help build your confidence because you're not worried about how your feet feel. Me and my clients have been wearing Berju shoes for a few years, and I'm honestly never gonna switch back. Like, I would never switch back to a department store heel, okay, honey? These shoes are lightweight, stylish, durable, and they come in a variety of different heel heights and styles for every different type of dance. The service is incredible, and if you need to exchange a size, they'll quickly help you do that. I do recommend ordering one full size up since these shoes are meant to hug your foot. So check out the amazing selection at berjushoes.com. Use my discount code RISFITKitty. That's RISSFITKITTY to save some cash on your next purchase. And let's get to dancing. Women believing that sex is something that can enchant a man and that can keep a man around, and that, like that is our power, right? And that it is our power, but at the same time, it's like that's not what it should be used for. Like, we should not be out here trying to, trap or feel like if I give this to him, it's gonna help him to stick around. Like, can we dive into that a little bit of that, that conversation of our life force energy and giving that away for free, and how that's actually helping men benefit, and how it's allowing them to level up while we're dwindling and diminishing our energy.
Yeah. Goodness. Okay. Yes. Yes, what you're saying, because if the man is a whole being, it will enchant them, right? Having that intimacy, because it's like a reward for them treating you well, for them allowing you to be in your softness, for them just really caring for you. It is that gratitude. And that experience allows them to do so much more. But people don't understand how energy works in like sex. There's a really good chapter in Thinking Grow Rich. It's a chapter on sex. I want to say maybe chapter 11, but I could be completely wrong, but it is in the book. It's on sex. He talks about how all the great men that he interviewed that were changing the world were really they really relied on the women in their life, particularly either their wife, their sister, or their mother was the one that was giving them the ideas, planting it in to their heads to then have them go and take action, because they did not have the resources to do it themselves. In particular, a lot of pillow talk of like, after we've connected, I plant the seed and you go and do this thing and you bring back the rewards to me, and then I again nourish you. That's a symbiotic relationship. That is how it's supposed to be that way. But if that man is not receptive to that or aware that that's how energy works, he's just going to siphon energy from you. And that's not even a malicious thing that he's doing. It's just like, you're giving me energy, like I don't have to do anything to earn this either. I'm just going to keep coming back and getting energy from you. And because we as women, we are creators of life, right? In so many different ways, not just through motherhood, but in like we create humanity, right? Because of that, we have a lot of energy to give. And we don't even realize that people are siphoning from us all over and that we're being depleted. And there are some very clear signs that you're being depleted, but so often we don't know what we look like as whole people. Like, I know for me, when I'm being depleted, my color, my skin complexion turns gray. I start to look less luminous, right? I start to physically see it on me now because I'm so much more aware of how energy works with me. If my nail breaks, I'm like, oh, somebody's taking too much. Oh, wait a minute, right? Like, you start to realize that. But that's one aspect to it, of just understand that it is a symbiotic relationship. It should be where we nurture each other, where you're coming home to the sweetness that is me. I make your life sweeter. Women are designed to make men's life sweeter, right? But that's also because they go out, they work hard, they provide, they protect, and that is that reward. That softness and sweetness is what we bring to the quote unquote table. But my grandmother always say, I don't bring them to the table because I'm the house that the table's in. You actually got to bring shit to me.
Period.
Yeah. Like this, where you're at is me. And I don't have to keep you here. I can just have somebody else bring other things to the table. You need to figure that out. And again, because I grew up in a matriarchal environment, that's what I saw. The men brought things. They were constantly trying to woo their wives all the time. And you saw how happy the dynamic was because they understood without the softness and the sweetness in life, I am nothing, right? Or I don't have what I deserve to have in this world. So there's that aspect of it. There's also understanding when you connect with someone physically, you are connecting energy for at least 7 years. Like, and understanding that is super huge. Once I understood that when I was younger, I was like, I have to really like you to share my body because I don't want to deal with you for 7 years, you know? And again, if people are into casual hookups and things like that, that's your jam. You know what you're doing. Trust your intuition because we're all designed differently. However, that person is with you for 7 years. The energy is still with you. So if you're going to connect to someone's energy, make sure it's beneficial to you. Make sure the person you're dealing with has the energy of wealth or abundance or good health or whatever, because they definitely are making sure that is for you, right? Because they're not only siphoning from you, but they're also dumping into you, right? Like there's it's the reason why the design is a design. They're leaving you with something. So make sure that that man is leaving with something that you want. Is he a man of, integrity, of honesty? Is he kind? Is he gentle? Because that energy does come in the act of sex with you, right? It does connect to you. People don't realize that. And then you're wondering why after you have like this random hookup, or even if you're in your partnership and you're having sex with a man that's not in alignment with you, why you feel raggedy, why you feel like I'm unclear or I'm tired or I don't have this go-getter energy anymore. It's because you gave it to him. And now he's thriving without a sense of purpose or intention. So he's just using your energy to raw dog life. It's not even being used purposefully, which also makes you feel worse
Mm.
because you're still having that connection of like, I also know I just gave you this energy and you're misusing it. And I am over here being drained. It really changes how you decide. Like, celibacy is not hard. When you have these understandings of like how energy works, it's like, do I want to empower you?
Mm.
Do or are you just cute to look at? Because sometimes you might just be cute to look at, and I appreciate your beauty that you've given to me in my life. Thank you, but it's not enough for me to like empower you. I don't want to do that. And it doesn't make you stingy or anything. You just really understand, like, I would literally change the trajectory of your life if I slept with you.
Mm.
I think you deserve that. Do I have discernment enough to say, you know what? This man has really added ease into my life. I feel really safe with him. I feel like he really cares. And not that you're being love bomb, like again, discernment, like really understand. Are you trauma bonding with this man? Because a lot of times we think that love is trauma bonding. That's why I brought up bell hooks, because when you understand what love is, it's a lot easier for you to know if you're in love and experiencing love, or if you're just experiencing some type of trauma bond.
Mm.
And quite often you're trauma bonding. If you're going on a first date and this man is telling you about the woes of his life, he's trauma bonding with you.
Mm.
You cannot tell me a sad story on a first date, baby. I'm just gonna be like, oh, let me
Definitely not.
head on out. I'm not a therapist for you. Or when people hear my profession, they'll be like, oh, maybe you can help me do this. I'm like, oh, so you want me to invoice you? It's okay for me to invoice you because I am looking for clients. But like, I don't date my clients. So if you would like to be a client, I got you. But if you're trying to date me, what would ever make you think I would do my profession for free because of you, because you're dating me? No. And again, that's going to make people feel very uncomfortable. Like, whoa, you're really intense. And I openly start with the fact that I am super intense. Yes.
And
But
that's
trust me, if you work for it and it makes sense and it feels aligned, that intensity is also very rewarding.
mm-hmm.
Depends on if you deserve it or not. And I can't tell you if you do or not. All I can decide is if I'm going to engage with you or not. And I think if we came from that perspective, it would shift a lot for us. I get princess treatment all the time from men, women, children. It doesn't matter. I always get princess treatment because that's how my energy is. People will naturally go out of their way to do things to make my life easier. But I also give back in that rewarding way. And I want women to remember that when they're about to engage sexually, because it can be very tempting when your hormones and ovulation week is hitting and you're like, I'm trying to get it in. Just remember that once that week passes, you have that man's energy with you for 7 years. So as
Girl.
long as you're cool with that, then that's really all that matters. And it's shifted because there are some times before I was celibate where I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I could use some of your energy actually. You know, you're doing well in business. It seems like you know what? Why don't you come over? If you're going about it that way, yeah, you can go about it that way. It just depends on what makes sense for you. I'm in a space now where it's just like, I just don't want to share my energy and essence and like my literal magic and force with someone that is not going to be around for a long time. I'll flirt with you, I'll key, it might get a little spicy here and there, but
It's
like
not
I
worth
just
it.
yeah, I just don't want to. It's just a no. I like how I feel having all of my energy for me and then me deciding to give it to like my family or to like, my nieces and my nephew or to my creativity. I'm deciding where it's going and I know just how much I want to give to it. That's not always possible with sex because there's so much passion and emotion. It is a divine act, whether we want to call it that or not. No matter how you label it, it's a divine act. You are experiencing an expression of God when you are having sex. It is a divine experience. You can be also a very vulnerable place to be energetically and physically and emotionally. Um, Again, I'll reference back Mina. There's a really good episode. I'm gonna try to find it so you can have the links for your listeners. She talks about the science behind sex and how in the beginning when they're chasing you, you want to have them do things for you to build up. I forgot what their chemical is for them, but it builds it up. And then when you guys do connect and you release that oxytocin for you, then it is that connection of like, oh, okay, now he's enticed, he's with me, he's captivated. What ends up happening is that we don't let them work enough for that experience, and then we give it to them, and then we end up trapping ourselves with them because it works in reverse.
Mm.
Actually can't. It works in reverse. You end up connect, and it's a chemical thing. This is not what your mindset is, and not if you think you're the baddest being. None of that matters. Your hormones rule everything in your body. Once that hormone is released, no matter how you feel about that person, you're gonna have this sense of longing because that's just what it does chemically. So I would definitely check that out too. Any one of those different perspectives would have you a bit more aware and prepared on to share your body sexually of like whether it's the energetic tie for 7 years, whether it's do I want to be chemically entwined with a man because it was just like a cute little moment, or just understanding that your life force is literally building up his life. He will then go on to succeed without you, but with your energy.
Mm.
Are you okay with that? It makes it a lot easier to say no if it doesn't make sense for you.
Girl,
Yeah.
so many important things that we just brought. Like, I just want the ladies to, if you need to like rewind and
Yeah.
then listen to that whole, like, please send it to your friends. Because this is such an important conversation. And I think, especially when we're diving into our 30s, like 20s, I think we've all had the experiences of giving our body to people that, it's
Yeah.
it's a part of life, and I think your 20s are meant to give you the lessons. Like, we have to learn those lessons. But once we know and we have this knowledge, it's like, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to keep making the same mistakes? Are we going to be aware of it? Or are we going to take our power back and be like, I'm not giving up my body. Like, this is the most sacred thing. Like, my womb, like all of this going on right now, like it's not to be shared and it's not to be taken lightly. So I think I really want the ladies listening to this to take that in, think about, the experiences that you've had, like go back and reflect on it, times where you felt drained, times where you felt depressed. Can you link that to one specific, instance or person? Because I definitely can. Like, I've definitely had girl, like
Yeah.
And it's so common. I see it a lot. I teach dance, so I see women like go missing, talented women who are so like they belong in the dance studio. They belong on stage. They need to be performing, and they'll get in one relationship and they'll just like go missing for months, for years. They'll come back and like they look completely drained. Like you said, like skin looks completely different, energy is different, they're not dancing the same, and I think it's not just dance. Obviously, that can apply to anything. We all have different gifts and talents, but it's really important to understand that your creativity is directly linked to your sexual energy. So it's really important for us to protect that.
I feel like I just love that you said that because I just want to drive home that point. It is, you'll know that this person is for you because you won't want to leave with things that help you create, like express your creativity, right? Like if you find yourself isolating or disappearing, it's because you don't have enough energy to go to those spaces because that man is taking up all your energy. It is that simple. Like if it's a good relationship, if it's healthy, if it's symbiotic, he's also giving you because he understands that I'll get more out of it. Really, it's a smart move. I'll get more out of it if you're going to dance, if you're going to paint, if you're hanging out with your girlfriends, if you're getting your nails and your hair done and you feel soft and silky, that sweetness becomes even sweeter. That softness becomes even softer for me as I'm out in life dealing with a lot of the hard things. It's the reason why men have that amount of testosterone and things like that. They are meant to deal with those harder aspects of life. I know they're not going to be excited that I'm saying that, but it's true. But they get to come back to that softness and be replenished. But if they're not experiencing hardship, but they're just coming back and taking from you and you're getting depleted and you're not going to do the things that replenish you, you're going to be in such a unnecessary, that cycle is unnecessary. Your 20s is your survival. Like pretty much 20s is like a shit show. You made it out. I'm so happy for you. You ended off with your Saturn return. You're good. Once you're in your 30s, like maybe make sure it's you first. You
Mm-hmm.
do, please. That is such a good example of that man is not for you. If you stop going to the things that you love, that he's sucking your energy dry. Even if you still look presentable, because there's different ways to do that, it's happening. Like if you still can't do those things, or you don't even, you should have, when I'm being loved correctly, I have even more passion for those things. I'm even more excited, right? If I'm dealing with the man, he's just like, girl, I'm so proud of you, baby. Like you can go and make, I was like, oh my God, right, right. I could go. Like you have this joy, this playfulness, this girlhood that comes out, you know? And when you don't have that experience, you toughen up, you become you lean into that mother trope real easy. I'd much rather be baby girl, where he's just like, I don't know how you survive life without me. Me either, as opposed to me being the mom. He's like, thank God for you as this energy bank to keep me going in life.
Mm,
Not. I've done it before. I was not a fan. Do not recommend it at
definitely,
all.
definitely.
Yeah.
You're not doing that in 2025. Lotus, this was such an amazing, fruitful, informative conversation. I want to thank you so much for your time, for your energy, for your knowledge. This was, yeah, I'm gonna be listening to this. Okay. Like when I'm gonna be running it back. Because yeah, ladies, I hope that, and gentlemen, I know we have some gentlemen listening, but I really hope that y'all enjoyed this conversation today. Lotus, can you please tell everyone where they can find your work, how they can connect with you?
For sure. I mean, I have social media. I don't necessarily use it often, but I mean, I'm there. It's at Lotus Aloba, LotusLaloba. Pretty much on any platform, the same name. I like to keep it simple. I'm predominantly now on Substack, and that's lotusaloba.substack.com. And you'll find like my personal essays, my audios, my master classes on dark feminine energy, and all my other musings that I put. It will be there along with my email list if you want to just like get more information and insights from me. And then my podcast is called Lotus Like, Lotuslike. And I have over like 100 episodes on there from like mental wellness to creative wellness, spiritual wellness, to the ups and downs of life as a Black woman and as a creative. So if you want to tap into that, you're more than welcome to do that too.
Yes, amazing. We love Substack. Substack is like my new favorite place. I'm like Instagram. Instagram is just, it'd be too much. I'm on there, but you know, I automate everything on Instagram because I can't. But Substack is where it's at. If you really want to get deep, if you really want to get to know someone and get into their mind and really learn, I think that's the place to be. So yeah. Make sure you connect with us on Substack. I will link all of your links and your socials in the show notes. Again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please take the time to rate and review if you're loving the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, let us know your favorite part of this conversation today. We want to know. And we will see you guys in another episode. Take care.